Good afternoon and welcome to Smart Trucking Live. We had a bit of a glitch there a minute ago. It's kind of ominous considering the topic we're working on today, but hello everybody. Welcome. Kelly Patterson, hello. Controlled Chaos, good afternoon, sir. Riley's here. Hey, Riley. Shannon's here. Happy New Year, Shannon. Who else have we got? Shannon up there in God's country. Beautiful up there. Igor, hello from Brazil. Igor, I saw your comment there about pulling logs out of the forest with an old Mercedes rigid truck there. That's pretty cool. And not a bad way to spend an afternoon. What else do we know? Christopher Van Dyke is here. It's a good Dutch name. The real Bontonian. There's a handle. Well, I'm kind of watching for there's Josh Peterbilt 389. Hey, Josh. Thanks for joining us. Grilled Mortal, Agent 86, just left the Capitol. That's from the old show Get Smart, Agent 86 and 99. You're showing your age. Welcome, good to see you. I'm watching for SoCal Sandman. He kind of inspired me. Talking to him briefly there through messaging a week ago. SoCal Sandman works for a big air freight carrier called Forward Air, and they just got hacked about a month or so ago now. They're just pulling out of it now, but it hurt them badly financially. It hurt them traffic flow wise. It hurt them in every way imaginable. And here, Forward Air is not the only major carrier to be hacked this year. They're one of 5 major carriers that got hacked. And it hasn't just been the carriers that have had trouble with hackers. It's been major banks like JP Morgan Chase and Equifax, for instance. And they even hacked the U.S. Army. They managed to hack into the U.S. Army's network system. So if they can hack into the U.S. Army system, like a secure system like that, they can hack into anything. They can hack into anything they want. And they can certainly hack into autonomous trucks, which is part of where I'm going. So can you imagine now, in a few years, if all these autonomous trucks are running the roads and controlling our supply chain for food and everything, and the hackers decide to shut down the trucks, where are we going to be? Our groceries won't get to us. Nothing will move. They could shut down the country when they shut down the supply chain, and it's entirely possible. And don't you think that some of these other countries, these nasty foreign countries, haven't thought of that? So far to date, the majority of the hackers that have done these big deals that they've traced, I won't say anything nasty. They've traced the hackers back to the Chinese military and Russia. So don't ever believe that there aren't foreign carriers out there that are looking to do us harm. And that's why I think that maybe we've rushed into this technology a little too quickly here, because we've got no protection systems built in for any of our electronic systems. And we rely on these things now. It's become that we're relying on these things. So I'm thinking, and I didn't understand at the time why some of this technology was rushed through so quickly. And then someone explained to me that it's because this technology is backed by major investors. And major investors want a quick return on their money. And that's why this technology has been rushed through like this. And it's left us open for huge problems. And that worries me something fierce. So I thought we better talk about that today, because it's going to become part of the new normal with all these electronics now and the technology that we're involved in. And I see that as pretty detrimental. And I'm worried that we don't have any fail-safe systems built into the trucks and the dispatch systems and our banking systems and our military, all these things that could go wrong. So I thought we better talk about that because I wish SoCal Sandman were right here. I'd like to ask him about the total devastation that his company suffered. He'd know better than I, but it certainly made the press, and they, it was a real deal. It was a serious problem, and something like that can literally shut companies down, and it can shut trucks down, and it can shut the country down. And I think this is not good. I think we need to build safe systems into this, and that's part of the reason I've always been so hesitant to see the fast advancing technology that we really don't understand or control completely ourselves. And it's we're to the point now where it's starting to run the country, and look at the possibilities, look at the potential damage. So that's what I'm all about today, and I want to hear from you guys about what you think about the electronics and being hacked and stuff, because I'm saying now, after what I've seen the past year or two, that they can hack virtually anything, I guess. And when we were going on stream, when we were going live here, our system shut down about 5 minutes in, and I thought, they've hacked us. It's their revenge on me, but apparently that's not what happened anyway, so we're back. But anyway, so that's what I'm... Oh, here's SoCal Salmon. The name of the group that hacked us is called Hades, Hades, which is what they used to call hell, I think. Hades, hell, or the devil. But yeah, just...
Not used to.
Well, if you still go to church, maybe they still do, but I haven't been to church for a while.
It's reference to a god.
Hades?
Yes. Greek mythology.
Oh, Nick says it's reference to a Greek god, but I don't know. So anyway, I'd be curious to know if that's, a lot of these groups are on foreign soil, and some of these groups are on our soil. So it'll be interesting to see when they track that group, if they're ever able to track that group, whether they're here or whether they're over there. At least Georgian Bay Airways don't use the 737 Air Max. No, I think we'll be all right. I don't think they can hack those Otter and Beaver seaplanes. That's about all we've got here. So I think we're safe there. But it's the sign of the times. There's all this stuff now. We rely on electronics. I couldn't even get the news this morning because my internet went down. I thought, man, that's a sad state of affairs. But we rely on this stuff now. Maybe rely on it too much. So, Josh says to hell with electric trucks. Well, it's to hell with computer-controlled autonomous trucks, Josh. I don't care if they're electric or not, but if they're controlled, by a dispatch system over a computer from an office somewhere, those are the kind of trucks I'm worried about. And they're that's what these guys are pushing for now. That's part of what this industry is pushing for, these autonomous trucks, so they can save money and not have to pay drivers, but yet look at the potential what these things, this system, could cost, not only the carrier, but the whole country. Yeah, freight bills had to be written by hand. I'd read that. That's just at Forward Air. Their freight bills had to be written by hand, for instance. So it slowed their entire company down to a crawl. And at least they had the financial fortitude to be able to pull themselves out and rescue themselves. And I had read somewhere that they actually hired an outside company to help them with this hacking problem, which was kind of neat because I didn't even know there was such a thing. But I was telling Kathy about that the other day. But here the demand has become so great that companies have formed to help you solve these hacking problems. Fascinating, but a little bit scary. Robert Daniel, yeah, I agree with you, Josh and Dave. Electric trucks with auto shift transmissions, yikes. But I don't know. Do you guys see problems up ahead for this kind of technology? Because it hasn't really been thoroughly checked for problems like this. And here's the proof in the pudding. Here's the proof in the pudding is that these companies are getting hacked. Even the U.S. government is being hacked. And man, you just, that scares the heck out of me. Think of the potential there. Maybe we should take a lesson from the Mennonites, says Kurt. They have their advantages. I'll give you that. They do have advantages here and there. There's Jonathan Mestro. Paperwork was hacked several months back, shut down computers, and they all held their info for ransom. That's what they do. They hold their information for ransom, and you pay ransom to get your stuff back. I gather is how it works in some cases, and that's, if you're a little trucking company, and the ransom is more than your company is worth, where are you there? Where are you there? Yeah, Sandman says they literally almost brought a $3 billion company to its knees. Think about that for a minute. Think about that. And they can do that to banks and trucks and military. It's pretty scary stuff. And all because we rely on this half tried and true technology that we've implemented all over the country at an accelerated pace to satisfy investors. There's something seriously wrong with that. There's Fred Besmer. Good day, Dave and Kat from Joplin, Missouri. Fred, you're in a good spot there. One of the best truck stops around. One of the best chrome shops around. Fred, you should do a reset there. I used to try to reset there. But anyway, it's a huge mess, and I don't see everyone that I talk to about this, and I know nothing about computers and that type of technology or how that stuff works, but everyone that I talk to that knows more than me about it, which is virtually everybody, so just kind of blows it off. They don't see it as being a huge problem, but I certainly do. Yeah, Shannon says half tried is being generous. yeah. I agree. It's they just kind of throw it up and hope it works. And they've even done that with the electronic logs. And then they find out the electronic logs shut down sometimes, and lose the signal sometimes, and there you are on the side of the road with a trooper, and your ELD is not talking to you. But that's the least of your worries these days with electronic stuff. Yeah. Container Guru says they're advertising new trucks that you can control with a cell phone. And we were talking about that a week or two ago. Yeah, that the dispatcher can reset the truck speed on a fleet truck 1,000 miles away from his cell phone. So, if a dispatcher can do that from his iPhone, a good hacker can do that from anywhere in the world. Like, think of the potential for trouble there. Government gets hacked because they use outdated tech. Most private homes have better security than the government. I don't know what to say about that. It may be true. Are Tesla trucks already pulling loads in the USA, Canada? They've got some test trucks running up and down in their region locally, but they're not autonomous to the best of my knowledge. They're electric trucks, but there are guys in them controlling them. But there are autonomous trucks functioning across I-10 and I-20 between, let's say, Phoenix and Los Angeles. I've noted that there are routes for autonomous trucks down there now, and they seem to be experimenting down there with them. Of course, one bad weather day and that'll be the end of that. But anyway, so I'm not liking all the problems that I foresee with this new technology that's been been rushed through, and I'm scared that our whole system could go out the window. Yeah, Mylan says if they're carrying high dollar merch, autonomous trucks could be hacked into the freight and stolen. Sure they'll try that. And I was thinking there a number of years ago now, they stopped trucks from going over the Hoover Dam. But they stopped that because they were worried about a terrorist putting a bomb on a truck, running it over the Hoover Dam and detonating the bomb. But if the truck's autonomous and it can be controlled from wherever, they could load it with a bomb, they could drive it to the top of the Hoover Dam, because who's going to be able to stop the truck? By the time the National Guard gets there with their tanks, the truck will be on the bridge already, and they could just detonate the bomb. It's stuff like that's potentially possible with all these new electronic systems now. DD Contact allows for two-way data transmission for data logging, software updates, and reflashing, etc. For Detroit Diesel, he says. That's from Ted Lane. Yeah, it's amazing. And Thermo King, I was reading the other day that Thermo King now can be controlled as well from a dispatch office or a cell phone. You can target a particular unit or a number of units and set the temperature up or down or shut them off. So there's your food supply chain right there. If they decide to go through Thermo King's network and shut off all the reefers, there's your food supply in jeopardy right there. So I don't know. It doesn't strike me as a good thing. And other people are recognizing this stuff too. That's why there was a surge in glider kits a few years back to put older engines in these glider kits, so you could have a new truck, but you could still fix the truck and work on the engine and control the truck yourself, and not have to worry about. Well, they did it to avoid the e-locks, basically, but there were advantages to it, serious advantages. These days, you could get a Mac Anthem. Sorry, Josh, 389 there for this example. You could get a Mac Anthem that breaks down in the middle of the desert in Arizona, and it'll only talk to a Mac computer. Well, the nearest Mac computer to the desert in Arizona might be, it might be Phoenix, it might be Albuquerque, it might be LA. So you've got to wait hours for them to get a portable Mac computer out to this thing that's broken down in the desert. And not any computer will do it, just a Mac computer's got to talk to a Mac. And by the time you find out that, it's only a water pump that's gone or something stupid like that, you've wasted a day or more, and it's cost you thousands of dollars. I'm not sure this technology is all it's cracked up to be. Here's another example too, and we were just talking about Thermo King. There, Thermo King you can now control from the office, and they've got all these vaccines that they're starting to ship all across the country. And don't you think there aren't terrorist elements out there that would just love to screw that up? And they've been talking about the high security they've been running around these vaccines to protect them from anything going wrong. But hackers could easily sidetrack and destroy vaccine, an example like this. Fred, I was by the Hoover Dam yesterday. No trucks allowed. Still took photo of Lake Mead from the observation deck in the scenic area. I don't know whether, should I tell Fred my
Trucker Harold wants to know why you're picking on his Mac Anthem.
I just used that, Trucker Harold, because Macs it's harder to find parts and service for a Mac out west than it is in the east. Like if you're in Pennsylvania, you'd have a guy there in an hour, but not so much so in Arizona. They just don't have the dealer network, and that's why I use that as an example. So Gal Sandman just replaced his water pump yesterday. Anyway, that's what I'm worried about for the future here. And I may be an old-fashioned guy, but there was years ago in trucking, there was a thing that we called the KISS theory, KISS theory, and that stood for Keep It Simple, Stupid, and that's what that stood for. And And you know, it worked for us back then. We had trucks that we could fix on the side of the road, and nobody interfered with them.
It's not a trucker thing.
Is it not just a trucker thing?
Pretty well known expression.
Pretty broad.
Oh well, I'm informed that that's an all around expression. It wasn't just confined to trucking, so that's good to know. I heard about that before you were even born, so I don't know how you know that, but. How many miles do the new trucks go before they start having problems? Doug Ackerman. Generally these days, depending on the truck, they're having trouble with them. They'll generally run between 300 and 400,000 miles, and then they start running into trouble. Particularly the Cummins engines. Cummins now, it seems to be common that they rebuild their engines at like 500,000 miles, which is crazy. But half the problem is the electronics in these engines. And we go back to the DEF systems and the sending systems and the units and the sensors and all that stuff. And the trucking industry has never been the same since they had introduced those electronic engines either.
I have an idea.
Mhm.
I say we take the motor off the boat and give you a couple paddles. Let's keep it simple.
Kathy thinks we should pull the motor out of the boat because
Out of your boat.
there aren't
Out of your boat. Let's keep it simple.
out of my boat.
Yeah.
Happily, I don't have an electronic engine in my boat, so I'd be all right.
Paddles are the way to go.
Paddles are the way to go.
Yeah.
See,
How many
I
times did you get towed last year?
it's an older motor. It needs help sometimes, but
Paddles.
I was back in the water the next day.
Paddles. Yeah.
She's
$1,200 later.
she's trying to tease me that I'm so old fashioned that I should be living in a cave and cooking over an open fire and stuff like that.
You kind of do.
Well, I do lean a little that way. I'm free to admit it. I do admit it.
Paddles are the way to go. You break one? Only $12 at Metro.
She's I don't know if you guys can hear her or not. She's saying I should have a boat, like I should have a canoe, because then all I need is paddles rather than relying on an electronic engine in my boat. But
Gasoline.
so anyway, that's my greatest fear for the trucking industry here in the near future. I think it's going to be one of the greatest dangers to not only the trucking industry but to the country and to the security of our country and our banking system and everything. Because I think these hackers will just persist and continue to get better and better. So, going to be an issue. I think going to be an issue. What else we got going on? Yeah, Doug says, Dave, that's everyday life. And I know you're right. It's getting to be everyday life too. And I'm saying, here's something that maybe we should work on a little harder. So problems with our electronic stuff aren't an everyday problem.
That's not what he was referring to.
What was he referring to?
Your comment about KISS.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's because you're on the old comment.
Okay. Well, I'm up as far as my comments will
No,
scroll.
you're not.
Look at the bottom.
You have to scroll it up.
They're teaching me how to work the laptop now.
After you've had it for 6 years.
Yeah.
Look at the bottom. That's your newest.
Yeah, the newest comment that I have
Top to bottom.
is right there.
Keep talking.
Okay.
Keep talking. I'll fix it.
See, she's got to help me with this stuff.
Yeah.
Ha. I was only one comment behind her, so I wasn't doing too badly. Oh, Jonathan Mestrel, thank you, sir. I appreciate the $5. Thank you very much. Helps us keep updated equipment in our electronics. That's what we'll use that for. Not to get too political, but I'm a little bit scared that the left is going to have complete control of the government and scared what's going to be new for trucking. And I don't know if they have the results in from Georgia for the second senator or not. They've got the first one in, and he's a Democrat. So I know what you're saying, because if the whole country goes Democrat is left, and it'll be a whole new ball game for the U.S. of A. As far as that's concerned. It is concerning too, because the politics will affect the trucking. Biden's kind of an anti-truck guy, so it's going to be curious to see. It's going to be curious, but they did appoint a forward-thinking Secretary of Transportation who's all about repairing and adding to the infrastructure, the highway infrastructure and stuff like that. So that's a good thing anyway. So maybe it won't be as bad as what we're expecting, but it'll be interesting to see if the Democrats control everything.
We got stuff for our topic.
SoCal Sandman's truck's got 3.38 million miles.
No, I just corrected you.
We're all screwed, he says.
No, he said, oops,
The left will hurt us big time.
2.38.
Oh, okay.
There's a difference there.
All right. Trucker Herald says, I was just informed that all the ports in the USA are on emergency alert. I wonder why that would be. That can't be anything good.
Why is he talking about something else then?
Yeah, EGR is not a good thing for longevity. Ted Lane, another electronic invention in my opinion. But I was talking to someone the other day and their throttle rod, they had connecting rod, basically the old style from the fuel pedal to the engine, and they were able to repair that by running a piece of string through the floorboards, and he was accelerating by pulling the string and that type of thing. And you can't do that with an electronic truck today. You can't fix anything on the damn things. You've got to tow them. You've got to tow them everywhere because you can't work on them. Everything's electronically controlled. I lost my ECM, and my Pete decided to spit out in downtown Montreal back a few years. And when you lose the ECM, it just kind of coasts to the side, and there you are. And to get towed in Montreal is just, they have one company that does it, and you have to mortgage your house to pay the tow bill. It's almost that damn bad. And I was able to jury rig the thing to get it going again to the nearest Peterbilt dealership. But it's that kind of nonsense all the way around that's involved with these half-baked electronic systems. I know I seem to understand the importance placed on fuel mileage, how much downtime before these savings aren't a factor, say in comparison to a new glider kit. Zipperbag sent that in. And it's got to do with the electronics on the engine. That's what it's got to do with. So yeah, I don't know. We should have just, before we do anything like that, we should make sure we've got all the bugs out of it. You know, they do that at NASA. They don't send rockets up without making sure they've got all the bugs out of them. And every once in a while they miss one, as you know, but it should be like that with anything. We shouldn't be putting half-baked technology up on the forefront of our country, because there are security risks because of it. So that's my rant for today. I didn't know if you guys wanted to throw in a few questions while I'm here, or we should just pack it in for the day. Certainly, my solution is that they triple check all these systems before they introduce them into the market. And to heck with the long-term investors that want their money back in a day or two. Make everything go through a test process involving a long time period so they can work the bugs out of everything. That should be law, instead of throwing this stuff on the market before it works. Look at the Tesla self-driving cars and how many people were hurt and killed with those things because they just took their hands off the wheel and let the car drive, and the car hit something. There's still major lawsuits going on about that stuff, so should have never happened. And here's Trucker Harold. I'm a former diesel mechanic, but even I have a difficult time understanding the meaning the new engines. And that's hurt owner-operators themselves in the fact that we all used to be able to fix our own trucks. And now you need to book it into a shop at $150 an hour. Don't think that hasn't hit the bottom line, and don't think that's why you see so few owner-operators as compared to what you used to see 30 years ago. Fred says in our fleet of Cummins engines, we're only getting 850 to 1,300 kilometers out of them before they need liners. So early rebuilds. So, and I understand too, and I'll agree with the fact that ECMs have definitely gotten better fuel mileage out of the trucks. Certainly there's been a vast improvement in the fuel mileage. So I'm not saying that all electronics are bad. I'm just saying that the things should be thoroughly tested. And, every once in a while you lose an ECM like I did. But in the long run, I'm sure they pay for themselves in the fuel mileage improvement. But these days, not so much in my truck, but in the newer trucks. But there are trade-offs to this technology that I'm not sure are a good idea until they perfect the technology involved. Yeah, and SoCal Sandman says it's because the technology has become too complex, and that's exactly right. That's exactly why you can get a Harvard guy to look at these things and not understand them these days. Too complex.
So then what would you have them do now?
I'd have them slow down and have a good hard look at any technology and a whole lot of testing before they released it to the market. It's just as simple as that. Don't let investors or anybody else rush the process of introducing this stuff into the market until it's completely tested and tried and true.
Money and profit driven. How are you going to stop that?
Well, the government should step in and say, yep, you've got a great idea, but we need to run it through a series of tests. And greed is a terrible thing with these investors. And look at these big pharmaceutical companies. They're another guilty party when it comes to rushing stuff onto the market before it's been truly tested. Like, look at the damage pharmaceutical companies have done. And these technology companies are doing the same thing a whole lot of times. And at worst case scenario, it costs lives. And you can't. There's ways to prevent that. That's an unnecessary loss. And I read one time that Tesla accepted the fact that there would be some people killed while they perfected their product. I couldn't disagree more with something like that. That's just crazy. Kyle, $10. Kyle, thank you. Appreciate that very much. I'm glad you're here watching us. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for the $10. It's coming to the point where you can't even change your oil with the trucks anymore. Yeah, you're afraid to. You'll knock off a sensor when you pull the plug, and the whole thing will shut down and won't start again. Josh wants to know, is PACCAR American? Yes, Josh, they are. About the only one left. Doug says, I've been seeing some old school cab overs on YouTube channels. And that's why that was the appeal of those old cab overs too, or part of the appeal, was there was just absolutely no electronic stuff on those. You could tilt the whole cab and work on the whole thing yourself. The government people are the investors, and they're making the money off the crap. Woody Bryan. And certainly that's true. And that's how some of this stuff gets passed into legislation as being, such a good safety idea, is because politicians and senators will have invested in this technology and gone, Yeah, let's pass that through quick and line our pockets really fast. That happens all the time. He's right. Is the Pete 389 retiring, Hassan? No, sir. No, Pete is going to keep that on for a good number of years yet. It's still their top selling truck, so they won't be doing anything with it anytime soon. Not to worry. And Container Guru says there's no money in reliability, and you almost want to wonder if that isn't part of the deal, that because the trucks are going to be in the shops more often and have these electronic glitches and problems that the dealerships aren't making more money off of that. What do they call that? But yeah, you almost wonder sometimes. Mind you, these electronic emission controls were kind of mandated into the trucks, so probably not the truck manufacturer's fault. Massimo wants to have a petition started to get Dave to try driving a Volvo. I think I've told the story about Kathy and I setting up an appointment. I was going to go down and test drive a new one because I thought I was being too hard on the Volvo guys. So I was going to go down and test drive one of the brand new Volvos, and the salesman stiffed us. We were in the car with our coffee on the way down to the dealership, and we called him to say, well, you should be there in about an hour, and he forgot all about us. He stiffed us. He wasn't even in town. So I tried to test drive a Volvo, but the cards were against me that day. But I haven't given up trying, but now with this COVID thing up here, everything's shut down, so all the dealerships are closed and everything. Lee Harvey, government has a track record of creating unattainable laws. Yes, that's Lee Harvey, and that's true, and that's true up here as well. So the top people in the country, the smartest heads in the country, don't run for political office. That's a fact. I'm only 21, so computers are quite easy for me. Build my own all the time, and got into truck tuning. Kyle Gentile. See, there's a valuable skill to have in the upcoming years, Kyle. And my son Nick is like that too. He's very, very electronically tuned, or whatever you want to call it. He can do that. He can handle that stuff, no trouble at all. Even my wife Kathy, who even her, and I shouldn't have said even her, but years ago, when computers first came out, Kathy realized that they would help with our dispatching, with our small fleet of trucks. And she sat down and mastered the damn things with no instructions or schooling or aid or anything like that. It was amazing, which shows you my wife's a whole lot smarter than I am, because I couldn't have done that if my life depended on it. But I myself, not electronically inclined whatsoever, but thank God Kathy and Nick are anyway. So they can survive in the new world. They'll be putting me in a box soon, but take away my flip phone.
Flip-flops.
I don't have flip flops.
Oh, yes, you do.
Well, for the boat, I've got flip flops.
You're gonna quit wearing them with your sweatpants.
I don't wear flip flops in the truck. I'm gonna do a video on that. The flip flop crowd. There's James Stemler. You may be thinking of me, young guy fall about a year from now. Got running with Herb, and I'm on my own now. Oh, good, James. Hope you're enjoying it. Herb's a good carrier, so you're in a good spot. Good. Congratulations. SoCal Salmon says I can drive his Volvo. Where are you? I'll come down. I'd love to drive that one. Such a pretty color too. I saw you sent the pictures, and the paint for the new hood does match. So I was worried, but no, it looks good. It looks really good. Thank you for the invitation. Did you track down my friend Richard yet, SoCal Sandman? He's in there. He's in there all the time. I haven't talked to him this week, though. Driverless trucks by 2025. Jamar Turner. Well, I know that's the goal they're shooting for, but what I'm saying is that's rushing things far too quickly. Let's just slow it down for the sake of the driving public and take a little more safe approach to the whole thing. Never mind about worrying about saving drivers' wages and putting them in the bank. Let's worry about people's safety. What about taking feedback and fixing the problem? Doug Ackerman, valid question. And I don't know how much they do that. I think it's just as far as the trucks themselves are concerned, they're so backlogged with the ones that won't run right anymore that they have very little time to try to concentrate on fixing all the things like the sending units and stuff. Sending units seem to be a huge problem in these trucks and the emission systems, but it's the bigger picture I'm concerned about. All these trucks now are hooked into electronic systems like PeopleNet or Qualcomm or something. So there's another way that hackers can get into the truck system, and maybe they can dispatch the driver over the Qualcomm and give him misdirection and stuff like that to help channel him into a back alley and steal the load or anything like that. It's just the possibilities are endless, and I'm saying, it's avoidable. It's avoidable. Ted Lane, any word about Clifford 2021? Kathy, have you heard anything? Oh, did you? Okay, yeah. Too soon. Yeah, I guess to know, but I hope so. I'd kind of like to. We didn't get to any truck shows last year. Nobody did. Doctor of Red Pills, $5 donation. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that very much. Do I think once marijuana is legal in the U.S., do you think they'll eventually let truckers be able to smoke on their home time? Of course. Man, I don't know what to say to that. I'm not even sure that the whole country down there will legalize marijuana, although they have up here, and they always. I was going to say they always tend to relax laws after a while, but when you look at drinking and driving, they've tightened those laws up, which I completely agree with. So perhaps they'll really clamp down on it. But you wonder how much good that does if they only clamp down on the commercial drivers when all the four-wheelers are allowed to smoke it. So, but in the case of alcohol, it's same rule for the four-wheelers for the trucks. So. I couldn't call that one there, Doctor, but appreciate the donation. Any up-to-date info on the Bison thing, Ted Lane? I read today Bison was bought out. Bison was a privately owned, family-owned company, and they've been bought out by another privately owned family company in Winnipeg. So they bought Bison as an investment to add to their portfolio. So pretty interesting stuff. I can't imagine the price tag on that. But that's what I understand is the latest with Bison. They have new owners. They're keeping all their current staff, and the current staff is just going to continue to run the company as they have done in the past number of years. But that's what's new at Bison. One of Canada's biggest carriers, for those that don't know. I just saw you talking to William Carey. William Carey's here. Driverless trucks won't happen for a while. Who is going to fuel them, slide the axles, and secure the load? Nobody can really answer that. Hey, first off, William Carey, how are you? Good to see you. See you through the laptop anyway. Glad you could join us. But yeah, valid questions. There's all sorts of issues with driverless trucks. Hell, the sensors on my Tahoe don't even work properly. Every time it snows, the front end warning collision system goes off. So, if they can't even perfect that, I don't know how far they're going to get with these autonomous trucks anyway. I can't believe they haven't figured that stuff out yet. Did you see the question about the trucking software, Kathy, and the fuel cards and stuff from All About Trucking? You'd be the expert on that more than I would be. I can't even remember what fuel cards we used to use. They were an Imperial Oil, like an Esso card, and I can't even remember what those cards were called. There's Jonathan Mestral with another $5. Jonathan, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. How the hell is an autonomous truck going to park itself in the Northeast? Oh, Jonathan, I don't think we'll have to worry about that because it'll run into something far before it needs to get parked and it'll be towed. So I can't see that being a problem. They'll just hook it onto the front end and tow it to a staging yard because there's no way it'll navigate the Northeast without hitting something. But yeah, valid question. Hell, it's tough for a trained driver to navigate the Northeast without getting hit. Yeah, Kyle brings up another good point too. He's talking about insurance, but what insurance company is going to want to insure these autonomous trucks as well? I bet you they're just not jumping up and down to be doing that. So
that's why this isn't going to work. Because nobody will insure them.
yeah, Kathy says that's why this autonomous thing is never going to work because nobody will insure them, and thank God it's going to be. Do you ever think the insurance companies would be saving our butts? But thank God for that anyway. They see it as a bad business move. That's why they don't insure them. They see the potential for accidents far too high, and they're just saying, nope, not us. Key to the highway. That's the card I was trying to think of, Fred. Yep, that's what we used to use was the key to the highway. Imperial Oil card. They were good. They worked at all the major truck stop chains like the Pilots and the Loves and the Petros and stuff. Jonathan, touche, Dave. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, Jonathan. I was just making fun of the autonomous trucks, but I do that sometimes. When drivers going to have awesome camera systems, I've read that the FMCSA now has legalized camera systems to replace mirrors on the doors that look back, so you check your mirrors. Now they're allowing cameras in that spot. So, and hopefully they tuck them in really tight so they don't get whacked off. Because when you get a mirror whacked off at a truck stop, you can just go in and buy another mirror and hang it and be on your way. You whack off a camera, I bet you that's a whole different set of problems. Or one shorts out or goes bad or something like that. Good luck finding a camera, and how are you going to drive the truck without being able to see what's around you? So there's another bright solution, but one coming, and I guess they're doing this all to cut down the drag that the mirrors and the mirror arms create. That's why they're going to these camera setups to look backwards around the truck, but I can't see that being that big a fuel saving anyway to make it worth the trouble. Some of these ideas, these electronic ideas they come out with aren't worth the powder it takes to blow them up. Yeah, Faith Walk. Who do I sue when one of the autonomous trucks hits me? There's another problem. There's a list of people potentially that you should probably sue, but who's going to say at the end of the day who's ultimately responsible? The courts, I guess, if you have enough money to go through that for a few years. Most people don't. But yeah, there's a myriad of problems with these autonomous trucks. Hacking and electronics only being one of them. But it's the software the trucking companies use now too to control their drivers and their freight movements and stuff. And that's what's been hacked at Forward Air, and it's hurt that company badly. And if they can do one company, they can do them all these days. Anyway.
Wrap it up and ask them maybe if there's a topic they would like to talk about next week, if they have any ideas.
Okay. That's my rant for today. We'd be interested in knowing if you guys have something else, a new topic that you'd like to talk about next week when we climb on here. Rather than an old one, as Kathy says. So something that's of interest to you that we could discuss. I'd like to remind you all to have a serious look at buying my Trucker Stories book that's available. I'm kind of proud of it. It took a lot of thinking backwards, but I'm pretty good at that. So I got a kick out of it anyway. I hope you guys will too. And enjoy it. Should help pass a few miles. They'll find it on the website, won't they? Where will they find it? Shows you how electronically inclined I am. I just go to Chapters and buy it, but that's just me. Where can I tell them they can find that?
Why don't you talk to them about the next topic?
While they're figuring that out.
No, well, you're figuring.
So anyway, back to what I was saying before. Give us a holler if there's something you'd like to discuss, and we can chew the fat on that next week maybe. Anyway, take care. Keep the rubber side down. I've enjoyed talking to you. I always do. We'll see you on the back haul. Take care. Have a good night. Stay safe.